So yeah, I'm going to carry on with my reading from the reconstruction. Important thing that we have to remember with any kind of religious text or historical text, in a sense, is that we have to put the author into their historical context and consider to whom they were talking, and that this was part of a conversation that was being had at a particular time. It was a response to a set of conditions that were prevalent at a particular time. And if we just put Iqbal directly talking to us as some sort of kind of universally applicable message, then we're obviously going to be disappointed. This was something that was written for people of a different place, different culture, different time. So we have to always bear that in mind. And it's for us to just take what we actually really appreciate in the work. So it's important that we bear this in mind when I carry on reading this. So during the last 500 years, religious thought in Islam has been practically stationary. There was a time when European thought received inspiration from the world of Islam. The most remarkable phenomena of modern history, however, is the enormous rapidity with which the world of Islam is spiritually moving towards the West. There is nothing wrong in this movement, for European culture on its intellectual side is only a further development of some of the most important phases of the culture of Islam. Our only fear is that the dazzling exterior of the European culture may arrest our movement, and we may fail to reach the true inwardness of that culture, of Western culture. During all the centuries of our intellectual stupor, Europe has been seriously thinking on the great problems in which the philosophers and the scientists of Islam were so keenly interested. Since the Middle Ages, when the schools of Muslim theology were completed, infinite advance has taken place in the domain of human thought and experience. The extension of man's power over nature has given him a fresh faith and a fresh sense of superiority over the forces that constitute his environment. New points of view have been suggested. Old problems have been restated in the light of the fresh experience, and new problems have arisen. It seems as if the intellect of man is outgrowing its own most fundamental categories, time, space, and causality. With the advance of scientific thought, even our concept of intelligibility is undergoing a change. The theory of Einstein has brought a new vision of the universe and suggests new ways of looking at problems common to both religion and philosophy. Important that we realize that when he talks about the inwardness of Western culture, he is talking about 100 years ago. Then there were great thinkers of that time, and he references the importance of Albert Einstein. In a lecture he'll give a few years later in London, he references actually the preliminary discoveries of quantum physics. In a sense, that kind of what became New Agey in the 1970s, 80s, actually had its origins in this period. And at that point, that Iqbal was in England and in Germany, it looked quite inevitable that thinkers such as Bergson and Whitehead and others would actually remain in the dominant position that they at that point enjoyed. We have to realize that at that time in the 20s, people were very interested in religion, in spiritual things, in theosophy. There were things like that we would now call kind of woo-woo, but these were really taken seriously. For instance, Iqbal, he mentions one person, very interesting, called Robert T. Brown, and he was an Afro-American theosophist, scientist, and he was talking about that science, that the universe is actually a living entity. It has a spiritual reality. These kind of coincided with things that Whitehead was saying. When Iqbal is talking to Muslims at that time and saying the rhetoric against metaphysics, against anything kind of inward, anything spiritual for the last 70 years, the people failed to realize that actually in the West, in Britain, in America, there was quite a deep spiritual, metaphysical inquiry taking place, and that science had its possibilities studying consciousness and all these type of things.